going to look at some books by Enid Blyton, whose books have been banned by some libraries and schools, initially because of the perceived lack of literary merit, but also because some of the books have been accused of depicting attitudes that are no longer acceptable. In particular, the noddy books, which we don't have any of those in the library. Enid Blyton trained as a teacher, and her first book was published in 1922. But by the 1940s, she was writing the books for which she became famous. The first famous 5 book was written in 1942. It was 5 on Treasure Island. And she went on to create numerous series, The Secret Seven, the Mallory Towers girls, the naughtiest girl in the school, and so on. Grown-ups reading these stories today may well wince at the stereotypes that pop up on the pages, yet children have loved them for decades and they are still extremely popular. So we'll look at the famous 5 book. This is 5 Have a Mystery to Solve. And there's one of the very evocative illustrations, which really take me back years. The famous 5 were Julian and Dick, his younger brother, their younger sister Anne, and Georgina, who liked nothing better than being mistaken for a boy in her signature outfit of jersey and shorts and her short curly hair. Her dog Timmy completed the 5. The famous 5 led a freewheeling sort of life, free from most of the authority of grown-ups. The adults in the stories tend to be kindly women like Aunt Fanny, who provided them with food and cocoa, and clever but rather useless men like Uncle Quentin, who was George's father, who wrote very complicated books with difficult diagrams that Anne couldn't understand, but who was forever getting kidnapped and having important papers stolen. And the villains were always easily outwitted, but not before the famous 5 had had a smashing adventure. The Secret 7 books are for slightly younger readers, and the Secret 7 themselves are younger children. And they solve mysteries, but they're a bit less mysterious and a bit less dangerous than the famous 5. The Biggles books by W.E. Johns faced similar criticisms to those levelled at Enid Blyton. And I wasn't even sure if they were still available in print, but in fact you can get modern paperback editions of them. They were written from 1932 to 1968, but most of our copies date from the 1950s. This one is Biggles in the Gobi. Biggles and his chums have lots of adventures in mostly against foreign locations. He became Bigglesworth Detective Air Inspector through the course of the books. And this one has a super illustration of an aeroplane. The Biggles books are having a bit of a moment in our library at the moment. A couple of our members, both grown-ups, are reading their way through the collection, and it's going to be interesting to see if this is going to start a trend. Every library assistant knows that when a member puts a book on the returns trolley, it immediately catches the eye of other members, and it can soon gain momentum and become very popular in its own right. We have 29 Biggles books in all, making it the largest collection by far in the children's library, and I think in the library as a whole it's matched only by Georges Simenon's Maigret series. following sort of in the tradition of the Biggles adventure books, we have a more recent book written in 2010 by Alex Scarrow. It's the Time Riders series. And the Time Riders heroes are Liam O'Connor, a young steward on the Titanic, Maddie Carter, a computer game developer, and Sal Vikram, who was a young strategic problem solver. All of these are saved from certain death by a mysterious hand, and they join an agency which can change history by travelling through time. The racial and gender diversity of the characters in these books and the equal distribution of skills that they have reflect the way that life is lived in the time of the Time Riders, in contrast to the stereotypes of the earlier books. We're now going to take a look at another popular genre of children's books, the boarding school story, beginning with the longest running of them all, the Chalet School series by Eleanor Brent Dyer. The School at the Chalet, the first in the series, was published in 1925, and it was the first one of 58 books written by Eleanor Brent Dyer, the last of which was Prefects of the Chalet School, published after her death in 1969. We have 8 of them in the library. Eleanor trained as a teacher, and from 1938 to 1948 she ran her own school in Hereford, and felt that her first-hand knowledge of schools and schoolgirls gave her a bit of an edge over her rivals, like Angela Brazel, Elsie Oxenham and Dorita Fairley-Bruce. Throughout the whole series, the main character is Joey Bettany, who, after her marriage in Chalet School in Exile, becomes Joey Maynard. Despite her 11 children, she always remains a central character in the Chalet School community. It's worth noting that in the Chalet School in Exile, which was written in 1940, but the action takes place just before Hitler annexed Austria in 1938, Joey and her friends witness and try to prevent an attack on the elderly Jewish jeweller, Herr Goldman, an old friend of theirs. This is a very rare example of support for Jews at a time when anti-Semitism was a regular distressing feature of many books that were written in the 1920s to the 1940s. The Chalet School changes location several times, beginning in the Tyrol, the Austrian Tyrol, then moving to Guernsey at the beginning of World War II. This wasn't the greatest move because the Nazis weren't far behind, so they move on to Herefordshire, renting a large house, then to an island off the coast of Wales, and eventually move to Switzerland, a mountain location that gives plenty of opportunity for the avalanches and getting lost in blizzards, spending the night in mountain huts, falling down ravines, getting washed away in raging torrents, and all the other adventures which were much loved in the early Chalet School books. The day-to-day routine of the school forms a constant core to the stories, with descriptions of the dormitories, the school uniforms, the meals with their German names, Frühstück, Mittagessen and Abendessen, and the use of 3 different languages in rotation for the lessons during the day. All these routines create a believable world and really enhance the connection between the reader and the stories.